Oh, we made it 7 more days, right? So we're here, and I'm excited again, because I'm always excited when I get up here to get to speak to y'all, because it's that one time a week that really, it pumps me up, right? It's this time we get to come together as young adults who are all kind of going through the same kind of troubles, the same kind of struggles, and we're able to come here for a reason, for a purpose, to hear testimonies like that, to hear, voices when I stopped playing my loud guitar and stopped screaming right in the mic, and I backed up a little bit, and just hearing people worship. And hopefully it's sincere. And I know it's easy for us to go through a whole week and never get a chance to do that. And to hear, I don't know how many of y'all drive down the road, down 820, you got like 40, 50 people in the car with you and you're singing to God. It doesn't happen a lot. But this time of night's a chance for us to do that. And if you have a story that you want to share about why you believe Jesus Christ is real and what He's done in your life, then come grab me, grab one of the people in the core, and let us know, because we want you to come share, because it encourages us. It makes us happy. So what we started a couple weeks ago was something to kind of get y'all, excited, because usually when I walk up here, at first you're like, who is that weird spiky-haired guy who's talking to me right now? And you just give me this look, which some of y'all give that look during worship, and I nearly did a roundhouse kick or something. So you're all singing. Anyways, all right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to break it up a little bit, maybe make you laugh. It's okay to laugh at these things. These are funny. They are true, but they're funny. Okay, so don't, just relax. It's going to be okay. These are called Jesus truths. These are things that are true about Jesus that you might not know about. Okay, here's the first one. Jesus knows exactly where Waldo is hiding. Okay, it's okay to laugh. Don't say it where's Waldo? Jesus knows. You know what I'm saying? Y'all crazy. Next one. Jesus hunts with a finger gun. You know what I'm saying? Is that not awesome? You've been around little kids and walk around in recess like they think they're going to kill something. Well, Jesus does that for real. Just walks around. Anyways, last one. When Jesus did push-ups, He didn't push Himself up, He pushed the world down. Was that an awe? It was an earthquake. Oh my gosh, people died in China. I don't know what you're awed about. Anyways, that's true. When He does push us, when He was here walking the earth, I'm sure he was a carpenter, right? He got jacked. He liked some push. I bet Jesus. So I just want to just hang out with him. Just wonder what He did in His free time. We don't know what happened the first 33 years, right? It's probably did a lot of push-ups. Anyways, and He pushed the world down every time. Yeah, kind of knows. So tonight what we're doing, if you're new to Catalyst, which I look around and I see some new faces, well, welcome. Okay, I'm going to tell you what we do here. We talk about Jesus and we try to find out what real faith is, and that's what we've been doing these last, how long I've been up here speaking, 5 or 6 weeks. We've been trying to discover what real faith is, what it isn't, because we feel like maybe our culture and our age category don't really realize who Jesus is or what Christianity is supposed to be. So what we do when we come here on Thursdays is not just, we listen to this crazy spiky-haired guy with a bunch of guys up here. We're just, playing a lot of music. You're like, right? It's not just about that. It's not just about, the free restaurant we have afterwards. It's about getting to know who Jesus Christ is and figuring out, what real faith is all about. And I've been in church a long time. I've been in church a lot, okay, since I was 5. Okay, and I know there's some points when you go to a church, it looks like it's dead. Okay, and people don't look any different than they do in there than they do out in the outside world. You wonder why this place isn't packed with 5,000 people? It's because we don't have enough people in churches that look like Jesus. Because people were drawn to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? That's why the church exploded initially, because people in that time were actually looking a lot like Jesus. They were dying for Him. They were giving up things for Him. They were making sacrifices for Him. They were living their life with a passion that reflected who Jesus was. So I thought, man, there's some people that I know in this age category that are just on fire. And I live my majority of my life not even caring whether I was on fire. And the things we talk about here, remember, I'm talking to myself. And I'm talking, and when I prepare messages, when I prepare things to share with you, I'm talking to myself. So don't get this thought in your head that I'm trying to judge anyone. Because what I'm doing is trying to dive into what real faith is and share it with you. So what we said that Thursday nights are about, in this series of real faith, we're diving into the book of James. We're talking about, what James said. James was the brother of Jesus. He got about 4 chapters to actually get his point across, and he did. And a lot of times it was like slapping you in the face. You're like, ow, that hurts, but I love you. You know what I'm saying? It was like he'd slap us with truth, and so we get it. So what we're doing is slapping ourselves in the face, you know what I'm saying, and getting an idea of what real faith is. What we've talked about is that real faith which it says in James 2:17, it says, you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it's dead and useless. So we need it, right? We need real faith, because real faith does something. And the second thing we talked about was that when we come in here at Catalyst, during this series, we're coming in here to examine ourselves. Because in this verse, Paul says this, examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourselves, because surely you know that Jesus Christ is among you. If not, you have failed the test of genuine faith. So when we come here, I want to give you an exam. All right, you come in thinking, I'm going to ace this Christian test. I'm going to ace this faith test, right? And then I'm going to give you a test. I'm going to give myself a test. We're going to see how good we pass it. All right. Last week, I love these like 2 series things because if you know me, all right, I go a little long. And, when I prepare a message and it's on PowerPoint and it's in there and it's nice and structured, you know what I'm saying? And it's like point 1, point 2, point 3. I get up here and I talk too long. And I get through like a quarter of my message. And then that's how we get parts. Okay? So we're in part 2 of the treasure topic, of what it means to have treasure. We're going to start off diving right into here. And I have my iPhone up here so I can look at what we're talking about. But the verse that we base this whole treasure thing on is this statement by James, which we are diving through the book of James, and it says this. It says, believers who are poor have something to boast about, for God has honored them. And those who are rich should boast that God has humbled them. They will fade away like a little flower in the field. All right, so James says, okay, poor people, okay, God has humbled you, okay, and you're honored because you're poor. And then it says, you rich people, okay, God has humbled you because all the stuff you have that makes you rich, right, it's all going to fade away like a little flower in the field. So it's kind of like, James, chill out, man. All right, it's kind of mean. I know I like my stuff. Okay, you don't got to tell me it's going to fade away one day. All right, you tell me I'm going to die and it's not going to mean anything. Yeah, that's exactly what James is saying. And that's what we're talking about here. It's this fact that the stuff we have is gone. And he's talking to the poor and the rich. And we decided last week pretty clearly that we're rich. Okay? So if you're looking at this verse, you're like, James, man, who are you talking about, brother? You know what I'm saying? Like, who exactly are you trying to, refer this scripture to? Because I'm pretty sure I'm poor. Because I can't, I don't drive a Mercedes to Catalyst, right? I'm poor. I can't eat at Roadhouse every night. I'm poor. No, you're rich. If you don't think you're rich tonight, then I'm going to give you some stats to show you that we're rich in this room. I don't care what car you drove up in. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care anything about your stat. You're rich. If you live in this country and you're in this room right now, you are rich. I'm about to show you why. Let's go through about 10 facts, just so we can get our mindset where it needs to be to understand this topic. Here we go. This small writing, pull out your glasses. If you don't want to read it and your eyes are hurting, I'm sorry. I'm going to share with you anyways. Nearly half of the world, over 3 billion people, live on less than $2.50 a day. All right? We all probably spent about $10 in gas getting here on 820. According to UNICEF, 26,500, between that and 30,000 children die each day due to poverty, and that's 18 children dying every minute, a child every 3 seconds because of how poor they are. A child dies every 3 seconds in this world because of poverty. All right. About 1.1 billion people in developing countries have inadequate access to water. 2.6 billion lack basic sanitation. For the 1.9 billion children from the developing world, 640 million are without adequate shelter. 400 million do not have access to safe water. 270 million do not have access to health services. About 2.2 million children die each year because they are not immunized. About 1.6 billion people, a quarter of humanity, live without electricity. Over 9 million people, of which 5 million are children, die worldwide each year because of hunger and malnutrition. Over 11 million children die each year from preventable causes like malaria, diarrhea, and pneumonia. About 20% of the population in developed nations consume 86% of the world's goods. And around 27-28% of all children in developing countries are estimated to be underweight or stunted. All right, so now with that in mind, and we realize that we're rich, let's try to get a grasp of what James is trying to say, because he's talking to us. So now that we've understood that we're rich and we're given these things, and as we talk about treasure, what I'm talking about, there's 2 different forms of treasure we want to discuss. One is the earthly treasure that we're given. I'm talking about money, possessions, cars, things that we have, okay? And we're talking about eternal treasure, things that we're going to get for eternity. Like if you're a Christian, you can know that God has promised that we're going to be judged for what we do here on earth, and we'll be rewarded in heaven for eternity for what we do. And there's eternal treasure, and I don't know about you, but I kind of want some. Okay? I want some treasure in heaven. If Jesus said I need it, I want it. All right? So if I want it, I need to know how to get it. Okay? If someone tells me there's a great Mexican food restaurant, okay, I'm going to hop in my Tahoe, and I'm going to ask myself, well, how do I get there? All right? And I'm going to go ask somebody. I'm going to ask Caleb or somebody, and be like, hey, Caleb, how do I get to this Mexican restaurant? I really want some. I want that enchilada, and those, those chips. But anyways, so, like, I would ask him. I want to know how to get there, okay? And I have a passion about it, all right? And to give you a little idea of what I want to do right now tonight, okay, in terms of searching for treasure, to find out what it is, how to get some, how to use what we have here, let's take this approach. If you know anything about me, you knew I played quarterback at Baylor. I played football, and now I teach kids how to do it. And now, during the days, since I have some free time during the days, I go to this elementary school, right? And I teach kids how to use a computer, how to work the mouse. Okay, they're kindergarten through second graders. It's elementary school. Okay, it's a hard job. I get 4 hours off each day just to chill on my computer. It's awesome. Most days, and I told you why I didn't get to last week, because somebody didn't show up, and I had to sub for them. All right, so this week what happened, okay, I was up here at the church, okay, until like 5:30 in the morning. All right, so we came up here, we put a little band together, okay, we gave us like a band name. We're like, let's do a photo shoot. We've got a website now. So we come up here, we start playing through music. Next thing you know, the sound system bust, okay? It's broken. Nothing's working. So I'm up here until 5 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out why the sound system's broken. Okay, and then after that, we finally get it fixed, where it sounds halfway decent, and then the lights didn't work. It was like a strobe party in here. I'm talking 5 in the morning, it's like, toot, 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 and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm wanting to leave. I've got to be at work at 6:30. I'm freaking out. I haven't slept. I'm going nuts, and lights are going off everywhere. So I stayed until about 6, trying to fix the lights, which didn't happen. And then some guy showed up today and fixed it in like 1 second by plugging in a certain cord. That being said, I want you to know what kind of mindset I'm in when I show up to school the next day after sleeping for an hour and a half in the gymnasium on a mat, because I didn't want to drive all the way to my house, then all the way to work. So I went to the gymnasium and walked to school, and I slept in the gym, thinking I'm going to get 4 hours off today because I'm teaching computer lab. Which, surprise, surprise, I'm not going to do that, because guess what? It's play day, right? It's play day, and Mr. Roberts has to go run the 50-yard drill, the game. And I'm like, you have in the sun. It's 100 degrees. I haven't slept. I've got a black shirt on and blue jeans. And I have no sunscreen, and I'm going to go nuts. So I'm out here with these kids, right? 700 kids. Okay, they came in groups throughout the day for 8 hours, 15 minutes at a time. I had to figure out something to do. I don't want to just watch kids run 50 yards all day. That would drive me insane. And it would you too. Okay, so don't give me a weird look, Julie. So here's the deal. Like, I was stressed. I was tired and I was like in a daze the whole day during play day. It was nuts. So I decided I'm going to grab 2 footballs. I'm going to make a game. This is what the game was. So these kids loved it. Kindergartners came first. Man, they loved it. I said, okay, kids. Because the whole purpose was to get them to run and laugh and have fun. So I figured this would work. So I took 2 footballs, little baby footballs. I said, kids, these are the footballs. This Nike one, actually, I said, these are not footballs. I said, these are spaceships. Like, ooh, like these little Toy Story dolls, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, like, ooh. And I was like, this is a spaceship, has a Nike swoosh on it. This is another spaceship. This is for the girls. It has Wilson on it. They're like, Wilson, we love Wilson. I'm like, yeah, you do. And I was like, these are about to go to outer space. And they said, yay! I was like, you're not going to outer space. They said, ah. And I said, I'm about to chunk these outer space, and you're going to go get them as fast as you can. And the girls have to get their ball, and the boys have to get their ball, and they can bring them back to me. Whoever gets to me first wins. And these kids, you thought I told them there's $1 million inside that football. I mean, they were like, it was like freaking out. I mean, they wanted to get this ball. It's just a football. Well, I reared back. I can chuck a normal football about 60 yards. That's kind of normal. I can chuck little balls really far. Like, so far. So far. So I chucked this ball, I'm like, give me a countdown. 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Boom! And they're like, ah! Like, they went nuts. And I had to like hold them back, like, don't go yet, don't go yet. And I threw the girls' ball, and they're all just like losing their mind. Like, you would think they all just like got free tickets to Disney World. And when I said go, you've never seen kids run so fast. They were searching for that football. It was bouncing everywhere for about 10 minutes after it hit the ground. And they were just running everywhere. Every one of them. Even though only one of them was going to get the ball. They were all running like they were going to get it. Not only did they get it, the little boys, once one of them got it, they tackled him. It was like a dog pile. It was like all the kids on top of each other, hitting each other, punching, kicking and stuff. I'm like, stop! I'm going to get fired! They're like, no, we want the ball! And they all run back. Okay? And as the day progressed, 5th graders, okay, they're like, spaceship game? Right? You're going to throw the ball? Only one of us can get it, dummy. I'm like, you go to the office, take away recess all next year. They're like, anyways, point is, I want us tonight, okay, to be like the kindergartners when we talk about treasure. Okay, don't sit there and be like, I've been to church. I don't need to search for this treasure. I've heard about money and giving it up all the time. And I'm not going to run very fast to get it. I want us to be like the kindergartners. I want us to take off full speed and find out how to handle this treasure that we're talking about. And last week, what we talked about was 3 things that keep us from getting treasure. And tonight, what we're talking about is 3 things, okay? 3 things that are going to help us build our sacrificial willingness. You're like, what is that? Like, that's that word I came up with this week, and I had to type it on Google to see if it popped up in anything. So I didn't know if it was a phrase, sacrificial willingness. But it popped up in one article, so it's a legit phrase, so don't judge me. All right? It was sacrificial, this willingness to sacrifice. All right, a lot of us in this room don't really know what sacrifice means. Okay? You might think you know, but you have no idea. All right? Because we don't sacrifice very much. Stats show that about 80% of Christians don't even tithe, give away any part of their income to the church, which blows my mind. Okay? Like, blows my mind. Or do anything. Like, the tithe is a simple thing, right? So you got to think about how many people actually give to actual other charities beyond their tithe. So you've got a lot of Christians that don't even do anything with their money that they're given because they're not willing to sacrifice anything. We live in a culture that says, man, I'm going to spend $1,000 a month on eating out, which used to be me, right? I mean, like, crazy stuff. When I was in college, I go through my budget. I'm like, if I go to that restaurant one more time, I'm going to be on the street, right? And I didn't even think about it. And we have this thing where we go buy clothes. We go to the movies and spend $20 a year, buy a $6 thing of popcorn. We won't give $6 to go feed a dying child in Africa. We don't think about it, right? We're just oblivious to what this world needs and what we can do with what we're given, that we just don't do anything at all. And we're weak. We're like a bunch of skinny little kids with arms about that big around. There are some kids like that that are pretty weak and they get made fun of a lot. Okay? Especially if they're in 9th grade. Their arms are this big around. Okay? No one wants to be the little skinny kid. I train football players. That's the only reason I'm using the illustration. I'm talking about boys. Okay? Get mad at me. What I want to do tonight, I want to build up our sacrificial willingness. I want to get jacked for Jesus. Okay? I want to build up our sacrificial willingness to a point where we can go around and we know how strong we are in this area. And it shows in our budget, in our checking account. All right, so a lot of us, we opened up Wells Fargo checking statements, it'd be like 80% rent or food, like 2%, little bitty skinny arms, charities, right? I mean, I want to build up this willingness that we need to have to give. And there's 3 simple things I'm going to hit on and we'll be done. But what I want you to do is open your heart, chase after these 3 things, chew on it a little bit, and let's get jacked tonight. Is that cool? Everyone want to get jacked? I like that. Ooh. All right. First way to build up your sacrificial willingness is this. Figure out what we're holding on to and be willing to lose it. Not lose your mind. Be willing to lose what you have. It's this whole idea of figuring out what we've been given. Okay, a lot of us don't even understand what we have. We think that we're poor. We think that we don't have the resources to do anything with. So then we don't do anything with it, right? So we're not willing to lose it because we don't know what we have. But if we realize what we have, then we can actually do something with it, and then maybe we'll be willing to lose it. For instance, when I played football at Baylor, when I played, the year before these new coaches came in, we were trash. Like, you want to talk about a bad football team? It was Baylor University. We won like 3 games, okay? We were bad. We were weak. We were not strong. So we had this really big strength coach that never lifted a weight ever, and he tried to tell us how to lift and run. And it was just like, what are you talking about? You need to go work out. You know what I'm saying? And then we ended up being skinny. Well, my senior year was when they brought in the new coaches, Coach Bryce, all those guys that are actually doing something now, right? That created like the RG3, ridiculous man, right? I mean, the new coaches came in, and the strength coach was the one who really started this craziness, right? He turned us into freaks, literally. He walked in at 6 o'clock in the morning. For the first time, his name was Kaz Kazadi. I think I've told you about him before. Kaz Kazadi, it's already scary to begin with. He was from Kenya, okay? Born and raised by himself, okay? He took care of his 2 little sisters. They went to the store every day and had to protect them from the bombs, right? The explosions going on everywhere. Then he came to America. Somebody taught him English and gave him a football. And then he was in the NFL, all right? Killed some people in the process, all right? But the whole deal was, he came in, he was nuts. And that first day he came in, he was just screaming, yelling, "Are you yawning? You better stop yawning!" I'm like, "Yes, coach, I'm yawning. It's 6 o'clock in the morning." He would just like freak us out. He'd like tell us all these things that we need to like do. He's like, "Yo, man, getting so much. You're so strong. You have so much talent. You've been recruited. They're paying for your school. You're good." We're like, "What? No one ever told us that before." We're good. Right? Like, "You're jacked. You can bench 350 pounds if you want to." We're like, "This dude's lost his ever-loving mind. Does he know who we are? We were 3-8 last year." We just had to listen to him. Right? We're like, "Okay, we believe you because I don't want to yawn and get kicked out of football." Right? I mean, this guy was nuts. But he was saying that if we just gave up our time, gave up our diet, like he came in, he's like, oh, you've been going to GNC and buying that shiny red bottle? Okay, no more of that. We're going to give you some steak, right? We're going to feed you with chocolate milk after every workout. We're going to eat Subway every meal, right? You're going to have to sacrifice your diet to get jacked. We're like, yeah! Right? And we're just like getting like nuts. Next thing you know, we're all like bench pressing like out of this world and running for days at a time, not even worried about it because we believe this guy so much. Because he wanted us to sacrifice something. And even though it was going to be tough, even though, yes, we were running up and down, like literally up and down the bleachers at Floyd Casey Stadium, vomiting on each other, which was gross. Okay, we went through a lot of craziness in order to win some games, to maybe win more than 3, which I think we won 5. Woo! All right, but now they won a bowl game, they had a Heisman Trophy winner, so it worked out in the end. It took a while. Yeah, Sycamore, sister, she was good. Anyways, Robert Griffin actually tried to date her, but I said no. Anyways, ain't gonna happen. So, beside the point, what I'm saying is that a lot of us are like the Baylor football players who sit there and want to quit because they have to sacrifice something. And a lot of us approach Jesus and his calling on our lives to give up certain things, whether it's money or possessions or time or sin, and we look at him like he's crazy. We just want to sit back on the bench or just quit the team because he's asking too much of us. Because we don't see the end result, that we're going to get treasures in heaven. We are. We're not just going to win 5 games, okay? We're going to win for eternity, right? We're going to be rewarded for what we do. And here's the deal. I'm going to share a story with you right now that Jesus told me the other day in the book of Mark that he shared with me. Okay? This is a story leading up into it. This is Mark chapter 10, I believe. And it says this. It's about this rich young man. Okay? This rich young man. He's loaded. It says he runs up to Jesus. Like, runs. Like, this rich man sees Jesus. He goes nuts. Yeah, Jesus! And then finds him. And Jesus is like, whoa, what do you want, man? Like, why are you running so fast? He's like, well, I want to have eternal life. And Jesus goes, okay, well, why should I give you eternal life? And he goes, well, I've obeyed every law since I was little. I haven't committed adultery, this and this and this. I'm really good. He said, okay, and looks at him, and this is what happens. It says, looking at the man, Jesus felt genuine love for him. Jesus says, there's still one thing you haven't done. He told him, go and sell all of your possessions and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. At this, the man's face fell, and he went away sad, for he had many possessions. Before you get freaked out by Jesus' declaration, this poor young man who ran to him and asked how to go to heaven, you've got to see his mindset. This young man comes up stating that because of what he had done, right, all of his good works and all the sacrifices he'd made to do right, that he was some way going to earn eternal life. And Jesus is like, okay. He says, there's still one thing you haven't done. Sell everything you have and give that money that you get from it to the poor. Then come follow me. And the young man's face fell. He walked away because he was very, very rich. And tonight, before you start peeing in your pants, okay, from this verse, which I did, literally, I'm showing you, you've got to understand where he's coming from. If Jesus came to you in the flesh tonight and said, Brittany, Jesus does not talk like that, I'm sorry. Brittany, I want you to sell your house and everything you have and your dog. I'd be like, yes. I would rock you. Anyways, he said, Brittany, I want you to give all that money to the poor. Brittany would be out of her ever-loving mind if she said, right? Because Jesus, in the flesh in front of her. How dumb was this man? He obviously didn't know who Jesus was. He obviously didn't think he was the Son of God. Because if the Son of God asked you in the flesh to give up everything you own, then you better do it. And obviously, Jesus doesn't ask all of us to do that. He might ask you to do that. Okay? You might feel like bringing desire in your heart to sell everything to the poor. And if he does that, if you feel that strong, you better do it. All right? But it's this whole idea of being humbled enough with what you have and be willing to sacrifice because you love Jesus Christ so much that the things that you have and the things you possess compare nothing. Your love for those things compared nothing to your love for Christ. Does that make sense? And in John 3:16, where it says, if you believe, right, in God, if you believe in Jesus Christ, you have eternal life. That word "believes" is the word pisto in the Greek, which is this full-out commitment, willing to die like this. This belief so strong that you'll do anything for him. Right? So that's what he wants from us. And he wants us to sacrifice things and give our stuff up. Maybe not everything we have, but give up enough stuff in our lives to where, man, it shows that our faith is real. Right? And if we're not giving up anything, man, we need to check our faith. Like we said before, we got to check ourselves to see, man, how much we actually love Jesus. And if we're not giving him our money and our possessions and our time and all these things that matter, how much do we actually love him? Or are we like the sad boy that walks away because we got a lot of stuff, we'd rather just hold on to those things. We sang the song earlier, ruin me. Ruin my life, the plans that I made. Destroy the idols that are in my life so that it's only you I live for. But do we look like that? When I played at Midwestern State, my true freshman year, they redshirted me. If you know anything about being a quarterback that's being redshirted, you don't play. I was fifth string, which means I was on scout team and running other teams' plays all the time. All the time. And I knew I wasn't getting on the field because I was getting redshirted. Well, stuff happened, injuries happened. I got to actually travel the last game of the year, got to go to Colorado and fly and sit on the sidelines. I thought I was cool with that little headset on. Right? And they won the game. I never got to play, but then after the game, I got this cool ring. Right? I had a ring, and I guess I dropped it and lost it. Which is going to make this sermon illustration perfect. Because I don't need the ring. It's just a stupid ring. My treasure's in heaven. Okay. We have to find out. So here's the deal. I worked this whole off season, right? The whole season working out, trying to get this ring. Right? I finally got it, and I was pumped. I was like, oh my goodness, thank you, God, that I got this ring that I didn't even get to play for, but I felt in my heart I'd earned it. So I prepared that defense very well. Right? So I walked, Caleb knows, my best friend, man. He's the best man at my wedding. I love the dude. But Caleb knows, man, I wore that thing around like it was like bling bling, like leading worship, like, Jesus. I like to bring this, so I'm still going to do that. I love this ring, right? Until one day when this youth pastor was up speaking in church, and he goes, because he got some ring in high school and stuff at Carroll, because he won some game and got a big ring. He says from the pulpit, my ring is something I actually earned, unlike Ryan Roberts who actually redshirted that year, didn't get to play, but he has that big ring to show that, they just gave him a ring because he was part of the team. Man, I was crushed. Like, someone just kicked me in the, like, it hurt. And from that moment on, I thought I was nobody. I'd worked that whole year, sacrificing my time and eating right and gaining 30 pounds of muscle, right? And I thought, man, at least I deserve that ring. And it broke me that day, right? But I realized, man, like, we have Christians, even in this room right now, that are working their butts off, or not, we rephrase that, not working their butts off, because they think their ring isn't going to really mean anything. Their treasure in heaven's not that big of a deal. So they don't work very hard. They think when they get to heaven, they're just going to get this little bitty crown that, some other angel, like Paul's going to walk up and say, I don't know if he has wings or not, but I'm Paul. Oh, that's a pretty trashy ring you got, a crown you got there, right? It's pretty trashy compared to my massive crown that I actually earned like half the Bible, right? I don't think Paul's going to be like that, but a lot of us live our lives like that, like Jesus isn't going to give us anything. Man, we cannot look at it like that. Jesus has promised to give us treasure. He's asked us to give things up, but we're not willing to give it up because we don't think we're going to be rewarded for it. We've got to stop that. We've got to understand that, man, the things that we have, we've got to be able to lose it. We've got to have this willingness to sacrifice things because we will be rewarded. We can't be like that rich young man. Let's look at this next verse, or this next point. Number 2. Realize what we'll gain and that it will be okay. Okay? If we realize what we'll gain, which is what I just talked about leading up into that ring, if we realize that, and have this understanding that we're going to get something in return and that it's going to be okay, it changes our outlook on life. A lot of us in this room don't give back to the church, don't give to the poor, don't give money to build this water well that we're trying to build in Africa for little kids who don't have water. People, we don't do that, right? Because we don't think we're going to gain anything, and honestly, we're scared to death to do it because we think we're going to lose so much that we won't be able to eat. Or something, I guess, right? We're going to sacrifice so much that we're going to wake up and just be like living in a trash bag under a bridge, right? If we give any of our money away. We're lunatics for thinking that, right? We've got to understand that we're going to be rewarded, that God's not going to look at us when we give money away, or we see somebody at the mall that's just like hurting, or outside the mall, or at a grocery store, you see somebody bagging their groceries, you look out there just having a bad day, and that if you give them a $20 bill, that God's just not going to reward you for that. Man, I'm telling you, God wants us to do radical things for Him and give away stuff to make a difference, and it's going to be okay, all right? And you are going to gain something. So don't be just chilling and living your life in this little bubble thinking that you can't do anything to earn anything, right? Because you're worried about what's going to happen. You can't do it. I want you to know what Jesus says about this. And this is kind of a long scripture, but it comes to life. And if you've ever got that feeling where I don't know I'm going to pay the rent. I don't know how I'm going to eat at Cheddar's tonight. Have you ever felt like that? Okay, Jesus is about to make you feel nice and fuzzy inside. All right, tap your bottom and say it's gonna be okay, Brother Ryan. Why did you go to Cheddar someday? Right. So, all right, let's look at this verse. This is Jesus talking. He says this. He says, "Don't store up your treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. For wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. That is why I tell you not to worry about everyday life, whether you have enough food and drink or enough clothes to wear. Isn't life more than food and your body more than clothing? Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. And aren't you far more valuable to Him than they are? Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And why worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers that are here today and thrown in the fire tomorrow, He will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? So don't worry about these things, saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers. Jesus was awesome. And I don't know what kind of attitude he had when he was talking about this, but I'm pretty sure he was pretty passionate. The way he talked and the way he said things was in a way that people wanted to crucify him. Okay? He wasn't like, God cares about the lilies on the field and he's going to make you beautiful. I just turned like from Australian to some European Borat sounding guy. Man, saw that on a commercial. Here's the deal, like, Jesus was radical and he was passionate. And he said these things, he said, don't worry. All your worries, I'm going to add one moment to your life, so stop doing it. I'm going to take care of you. See all those birds that fly around and they don't have shelters to go to? All right? I'm going to feed them because I love them. And if I love them, how much more do I love you? Right? You see these little wildflowers around here? I don't know if you did that. You probably did. All right? You see those little wildflowers floating around? All right? You know how beautiful they are? Well, guess what? Solomon, the richest man who's ever lived on the face of the planet, all right, the wisest man who's ever walked on earth, right, besides Jesus himself, that man was clothed not even in comparison to these wildflowers I make, yet I'm going to throw them in the fire tomorrow. They're going to be burned up. So I'm going to take care of you. And I love this illustration that Jesus uses. He talks about clothes, what we're going to eat, right, and what we're going to drink, which no one in this room probably even worries about. You know what I'm saying? That's what pumps me up tonight. Because Jesus is making illustrations to try to relate how we don't need to worry. And he's talking about stuff that really no one in this room even worries about because we've never come to a point to be afraid enough to worry about those things. Because none of us in this room here are not saying, oh, I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. If you did, come talk to me afterwards. Okay? No one in this room came here not saying, I don't know what I'm going to wear in a catalyst. I'm out of clothes. You know what I'm saying? No one did that. And no one said, I don't know how I'm going to make it in another second if I don't get something to drink. None of us are like that. Yet Jesus compares these three things that none of us even worry about and says, don't worry about those things that are actually, worth fearing for. Don't worry about those things. I'm going to take care of you. Yet there's us in this room that get stressed out and weep at night, right? Because we're worried about getting the next paycheck to pay for our nice $700 apartment. Or we stress out because we're not going to get that awesome job. We cry, we worry, we get stressed, and we cry because some boy broke up with us and somebody called us a name, or, all these things that happen, right? And we worry and we weep. And I'm not telling you tonight that Jesus doesn't care about those things, because he deeply does. But he wants you to know tonight, you don't need to worry about those things. Don't worry about if you give a certain amount of money, right, to build a water well, that he's not going to bless you for it, that you're not going to have enough food and water to drink yourself, or enough clothes to wear, and enough things to put on. Don't worry about those things. Come on, boys, sit down. We've got plenty of room. Seriously, no one. Everybody's scared of me on Thursday nights. No, Chris was scared of me. Looking clean tonight. Here's the deal. We worry about things we don't even need to be worried about. Right? If you don't worry about your life, how you provide for your wife after you die, right? And Chris can handle that because he works for an insurance company and he can help you out with that, get you some life insurance. I'm just using him because he just walked in. He's awesome. But there's things we don't have to worry about, and there's things we don't need to worry about. Okay, and a lot of us in this room worry about things we don't need to. But Jesus Christ is in control and he cares about you. And it's going to be okay, but don't let your worry about whether or not it's going to be okay influence your sacrificial willingness and make you skinny, like a little bitty 7th grade boy that weighs 80 pounds, like I did. All right, I got made fun of a lot. Man, your mom's so skinny, man. Shut up. Like, do push-ups. I wouldn't do anything. I didn't eat enough food. So here's the deal. All right, don't let that get in the way of you getting jacked. Okay? Don't let this whole idea that you're gonna be, oh my gosh, your world's gonna crash down if you give some money away, or if you give up certain things, you have to help others. Don't worry, God's gonna take care of you. Last thing, we're through. Determine our response. Determine our response. And this is what we've got to do as Christians tonight in this room. You've heard it. You've heard, how do we build up our sacrificial willingness? Okay? We talked about, the first thing was that we've got to understand, okay, that, man, what we have, right? Everything that we have, and are we willing to lose it? We figure that out. We figure out what God's blessed us with. Our money, our possessions, maybe our nice clothes, maybe our nice haircuts we get, right? Check out my hair. So I need to get someone else to cut it. It's crazy. We have all these things that we spend money on and we sacrifice for. I met somebody the other day who's actually come to Cal's before. I'm not going to mention names, right? And I don't know if they're a Christian, but it's just, maybe they say they are. I'm just saying tonight, they were just talking to them saying, yeah, I spend $1,500 a month on massages and haircuts. I'm like, whoa, awesome. Thanks for telling me. Right? I'm like, but just, I'm not saying those are, I'm just saying, like that person doesn't give away anything. They hoard it all for themselves. They spend on everything that they desire, and they're not willing to lose any of it for anything. And a lot of us are in this room, maybe you're like that. I was like that. I didn't have massages. I didn't spend money on haircuts that much, right? But I spent money on a lot of things that, I could have been using for other things that would have mattered and had eternal value. All right, the second thing we said was we have to understand that because of our willingness to sacrifice, when we do give things up, we're going to be blessed for it. All right? You're going to get crowned in heaven. Right? God's going to take care of you. Maybe not even in this life, which He promises to do. Right? So He's going to do it. But He promises for eternity that you'll be blessed with crowns and rewards, which is something that should drive you to give. And this last thing we're looking at is what's our response going to be? You've heard the things tonight. Are you going to be like the rich man who hears Jesus say, give up everything you have? Sell it all and give that money to the poor. Are you going to walk away from God tonight and say, I've got so much stuff? Right? You're going to be more like maybe a Paul. If you know anything about Paul, Paul was probably the strongest Christian man who's ever walked the face of the planet. And that dude was probably the most wicked man who's ever walked the face of it before he met Jesus. And it changed him. And he knew what it meant to lose stuff. He had money. He had fame. People knew him. All right, that's why Christianity just blew up like wildfire. Because everybody knew who Saul was. He had money. He had prestige. He'd been raised to know all the commandments. Right? He obeyed them all. I mean, he was known. And he persecuted the church and was killing Christians. And then he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. And then from that point on, he radically changed the world. I mean, people saw the change in his life, and that's what blew up Christianity to begin with. Then you had the initial Christians meeting in rooms, selling everything they had to meet in a little room to build up the church because, right, they were being killed and persecuted for believing in Jesus. And they wanted to start something big because they knew that Jesus Christ, they'd seen him rise again. They saw the change in Paul, and they knew he was real. They knew that Jesus Christ was real because the difference was in that what happened in his life. And I want you to listen to what Paul says from his point of view about what it means to sacrifice things. What it means to have Christ versus having your stuff. This is what Paul says. He says this. I once thought these things were valuable, but now I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. Yes, everything else is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For His sake, I have discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage, so that I could gain Christ. Dear brothers and sisters, pattern your lives after mine, and learn from those who follow our example. For I have told you often before, and I say it again with tears in my eyes, that there are many whose conduct shows they are really enemies of the cross of Christ. They are headed for destruction. Their God is their appetite. They brag about shameful things, and they think only about this life here on earth. Paul knew what he was talking about. And tonight, there's people in this room. If I was to share this with you tonight and try to do the same thing Paul did, I would say this. Listen, I've been through some hard stuff in my life. I've lost family members. I've lost friends. I've been evicted from a home, okay? I've been rejected by a father. I've seen my parents divorced 2 weeks ago, okay? I've had a lot of money, okay? I run a business, but I was also broke at one time, and I lived on couches for 3 years and swept gyms with a master's degree till 11 o'clock at night. And worked as youth pastor, made nothing. I showed up for a Christmas one Christmas season, and got evicted from my 6-bedroom mansion home. With everything that I ever owned thrown in the front yard. It was snowed on, and I lost it all. I lived in a car. To this day, my parents are still separated. God is working in all of our lives to bring us back together. and to kind of mend, okay? I've been through some stuff. I know what it means to be in debt. Okay, I know what it means to have a lot of money. But I'm telling you this tonight, that I discredit all that stuff. I count all that stuff that I've gained and everything I've lost as garbage compared to knowing Christ and knowing His love. That's coming from my heart tonight. Compared to what Christ did for me on that cross, I have discarded everything else compared to Him. And I wish there were some people in this room that would stand up and do that same thing in their lives. And that they would desire to discard stuff in their life. Money and possessions and sin. To know Christ. To count those things as garbage. And I'm afraid in this room, as I try to relate like Paul did, I'm afraid there's people in this room who are really enemies of Jesus right now. And that's scary. There may be some enemies in this room because all they care about is their appetite and how much they're going to gain in this world. And all they care about, right, are things that this culture loves. Money and fame and degrees and things that have no eternal significance at all without Christ. I'm afraid there may be some enemies of God in here. And my heart is that we don't leave here as enemies. Because we've checked ourselves. But we know, we can leave this room and know that our love for Christ far outweighs our love for this world. And that's what Christ wants. He wants us to make a difference. He wants us to do things with our money. He doesn't want us just to worry about finances or worry about money and if we're going to have enough here to put into account or have enough money to eat out and go to restaurants and just live this ridiculously extravagant lifestyle that we don't even need. He wants us to maybe give up some stuff. I'm going to ask you 3 things tonight. 1, what do you have? Think about it. What do you have tonight? Man, we are so blessed in this room. We heard the stats. You can just kind of glaze over them and say they don't exist. But you saw the stats. I mean, we are blessed. We have running water. We have a place to lay our head. Right? We have clothing. We have security. We have things that God has blessed us with. And most of us have jobs and money and things that can change the world. I mean, you saw that stat 80% of the world lives on $2.50 a day. I guarantee you got some people who are $2.50. What do you have? You have a lot. Second question is this. Are you willing to lose it? You're willing to lose it. There was this guy that was literally bawling in his car. Bawling in his car. Because he opened up Mark chapter 10. And the questions went through his head. If he was a rich man, and Jesus came to him and asked him to sell his home and sell everything he had and give it to the poor, would he do it? And that man in that car bawled like a baby. It was me. And I bawled. And I cried. My wife sat there right next to me. And I had to check myself. And I had to ask myself, what am I holding on to? What am I doing? Am I doing enough? And I just had to pray and just beg God to show me what He wanted me to do with my money, what He wanted me to do with my time, my resources, what I had, if I was even willing to lose it. And I can't remember where I was. If that's what He wants, I said, God, if you want to take my life even, if you want to take my job away from me, if I don't use it for you, if you want to just destroy my life, then you can do it. Because I want you. And I just bawled in that car. So I finally saw the love of Christ because He wants us to Himself. I love my wife with all my heart. And I want to share her with anybody else. It's not because I'm some meanful, wrathful, meanful is not the word, some wrathful, hateful husband. It's because I love her so much that I want her myself. And God looks at us, He says He wants you. He wants you. He wants you to Himself. wants you to lose some things for him and sacrifice a little bit for him. I fear in this room that there's a lot of us here today, tonight, that would never do anything in our life even worth fearing for. That's my fear. That we never do anything in our life that's actually worth fearing. We live a life of ease and comfort and security. We die and never do a thing where we're actually on edge, having to trust God with everything we have. Are we willing to lose it tonight? And this last one is this. Will you lose some to make a difference? We've made a challenge. Listen, you can relate the message tonight to any area of your life. Any ministry you feel God's leading you to get to. Okay? You can make up some in your head and go online and Google food for the poor, or, this ministry or that ministry, or maybe you haven't been tithing, you want to start tithing to church, which you need to be led to do, right? Which is something we have to seek God for, right? Out of His Word, His Word tells us to do that. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's giving to someone at Albertsons, right? Maybe it's someone at Walmart seeing some woman with a child who looks like she needs help, and you just hand her a 20. You say, I want you to know Jesus Christ loves you. Or going through a drive-thru and saying, hey, come to Catalyst, here's $30. Hope you're doing okay. And then they just freak out, right? Out of love, they start crying. You get a haircut, you tip them like whatever you want. They start bawling. What are we willing to lose to make a difference? What are you willing to give up? That's my question. What the challenge we put forth last week was that we wanted to raise $7,000 to build a water well in Africa.
There's no question that over the last 5 years, we've been able to do some amazing work. I'm never going to get tired of images like these. When our supporters step up and invest in lives of people in Rwanda, in Uganda, in Kenya and Sierra Leone, we all get to watch as hope is restored. But over the last few years, we've realized something even more important about our work. And that's that we don't change the world. Not us. Not alone. We can't take credit for that. What we've discovered is that when this obstacle, the lack of access to water, when this obstacle is taken away, when it's removed, women, men, children, they're the ones that start to change things. Water allows mothers to raise healthy children. It allows students, especially girls, to stay in school. Water feeds whole villages. But it's the people, not hardware, who truly change the world. Every time we unlock this potential, by providing something as simple as clean water, a ripple goes out. Let me share just one story of how I've seen this happen. This is Bridget. Bridget lost both of her parents to HIV/AIDS. She's an orphan. She grew up in a part of Kenya with no access to clean water. Her community had long struggled with a lack of food. They were plagued by unpredictable rains and drought. If you add it all together, she shouldn't have even been standing there that day. As we got to talking, we noticed that Bridget was holding a green binder. Kind of an odd thing for a teenager out here in the bush to have, and so we asked her about it. As it turns out, this green binder was an accounting log. Because water was in her village now, and had begun to change things, she saw an opportunity. Bridget saw a chance to grow tree seedlings with some of the other orphans in her village. They would take these tree seedlings into the market and they sold them at a profit. You see, bringing clean and safe water to places like Kenya is about clearing obstacles. It's about allowing Bridget to be Bridget. It's about allowing Kenyans to be Kenyans. It's about removing the things that keep intelligent, well-spoken, organized, motivated, and proud women like Bridget from just being themselves. As we were leaving, we asked Bridget one last question. What are you going to do with all that profit? Her answer humbled and inspired us. She explained without skipping a beat that she was going to invest it in the other orphans. Of course. That's hope. That's how incredibly important access to clean and safe water is. It seems simple. It seems like it's just about a well or a sand dam or a water filter. But it isn't. It unlocks this kind of potential. It exposes this kind of hope.
All right, so what we're doing, if you go to that Catalyst page, Can you see that? I know that video is kind of shocking if you haven't seen anything like that before. That's live. That's real. That's happening. And what we're doing through the water project is this. If you go down, Jessica, if you click, it says click here to visit the project page. It'll help us complete our challenge of raising $7,000 for a water project for children. If you click on that, this goes to our page. Now, don't scroll on yet, Jess. But this page, which is linkable, we'll put it on our Facebook page. We'll put it, it's obviously on our website, our church website, fbcfw.org. If you go to that and you follow the link, okay, it's going to take you to this page. Once you get to this page, it has an explanation of what it is. Okay, and it says how much we've raised. In a week, okay, since last week, we've raised $2,000. Okay, but before we go, everybody goes like this. Ooh, that's from 9 people. Okay, we had like 30 people last week say they were going to do it. Like, we had 80 people here last week that heard the message, right? And with 9 people, we've raised $2,000 in 7 days. So I'm telling you what's going to happen when we build this well. They're going to videotape it for us. The well that we built will be live streaming, okay? We'll be able to see it being built. We'll see the kids running up there. We'll see them getting the water, right? If that doesn't change your faith, right? If that doesn't change how much you love Jesus and what you're willing to sacrifice, I don't know what will. You may just be dead. If that doesn't touch you, if that's not something you want to help, to build a well. And I made it simple last week. I said if 50 of us chose to give $20 a month, 50 of us, which that's about 50 or 60 in this room. If 50 of us chose to give $20 a month, all right, that's $1,000 a month right there. Just by giving $5 a week. Give up your Starbucks for crying out loud. Or give up going to Cheddar's, after this is over, and pocket that 20 and put it up here. Or go online and just put in your credit card or PayPal account and do it. It takes like 2 seconds. I want you to see this. Go down, it explains it, it's a link, it has our vision, it has the video we just watched connected to it, and it has donations. There's ones on there. Somebody gave it's just crazy. But I'm telling you right now that we can do better than that. Right? 9 people, and I know we can make a difference. And we can build this water well. And it's not even that big of a sacrifice. You're probably not going to see some people's names up there. But anyways, what I'm saying, right, is that, man, we can do something. Catalyst can do something. We said last week that if we just shared the gospel on Facebook with 100 people a day, right, with 60 people doing it, we'd reach like 35,000 people a week with the gospel of Christ, and we just did it. Sacrificing 1 hour of our time. Like, there's so many things that this group can do. We don't have to have 10,000 people in this room to make a difference. So I challenge you with that tonight. Jessica, go back to the PowerPoint screen. And, we're not going to get any, crazy serious. This is just real. Okay, if you want to make a difference, I just want you to text my cell phone number, difference. Okay, just text the word difference to my cell phone. Take your cell phone, you can play games on it. You can just text and say what's up. Play Words with Friends or something. Text me. Say difference. I'll send you the link so you don't have to go search on it. But if you do want to search for fbcfw.org, find the young adult page. There it is. Click, bam, donate. It's done. Next week we get 1,000. Or 5,000 would be awesome. Right? We just build that sucker. And there's so many things. And it's not just the well, man. It's everything we use our finances for. Okay, let's make sacrifices. Let's make a difference. Let people see the love of Christ by the way we spend our money. Cool? Awesome. Let me pray for us. Dear God, thank you so much for this night and this chance we had just to come and gather in your place. We just ask, God, that you move in the hearts of those that are here. Father, you would just do something amazing and convict us, God. Let us understand what we've been given, the blessings that you bestowed upon us, God, that we would use our money, use our resources to the best of our ability, God, to make a difference in this world, to those that are dying and those that are hurting, God. And let us understand how blessed we are and take what we've been given and just do something radical for you. I ask you to stir the hearts of each one that's here, God, that's heard your truth and heard your word. And I just ask, God, that you would just not let it stay in this room, that you would change them and let us make a difference, God. We thank you so much for the sacrifice you made for us. God, let us sacrifice for you. In Jesus' name.